Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. This is Severen Henderson back again with another episode of Department 3C Presents a podcast. I have a guest today that was one of my coworkers. He's a really good, great, inspirational, positive guy, and he has like a super story that he said he was going to share with us today. Kind of the theme of this episode is life outside of fire, life without fire, things like that. Because even though we're at work and we're working and sometimes we think we're invincible, we can do anything, we can conquer the world, sometimes situations arise where that is not the case. The big thing about this show and about the podcast is just the fact that everyone has those moments and points of vulnerability. And that's, again, anytime someone asks me why I decided to do this show, why I started this show, that was the number one reason. I just wanted people to know that it was okay to feel how you feel and have the things go on that happen in your life. And you are not the only one that these things happen to. I was a case of that. And as we go on with the show, we'll talk more and more about it. So today we're trying a few different things out, a different format, a different way to talk to the guest. I'm doing an IG live that I hope is going through that people can see, just trying to do some cool experiments. So that was just a little mini monologue about what the episode is about and who you have to listen to on this episode. But this is my friend Mike Spencer, and Mike is going to introduce himself. And let's talk, bud.
All right. First and foremost, thank you so much for doing what you're doing with this. And obviously, I'm honored and floored that you asked me to be on this as well, to tell this story. It's kind of wild, and I appreciate it. I appreciate anytime anybody wants to kind of like shed light on, being positive and, that we all sometimes need help, that we need to talk about things and, talk through things and be there for each other. So I just want to say thank you very much, man.
You are. Hey, thank you. That's what I said when I reached out to you. You said, thank you so much for letting me come. No, thank you for coming on, because trying to wrangle you guests is something else.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine.
And schedules and Corona and
the Rona,
all that other fun stuff happening, so it makes it a little difficult. So, like I said, the number one reason I wanted you to come on is because of your positivity and how up in you are. That like your social media presence is just off the charts. You look great, you sound great, you put up great stuff. You was just talking about a couple of your projects. So just start with who you are.
Sure. And thank you so much, because like we talked about before, like obviously that is something I want to get out there, is positivity and happiness and, doing things and getting through days and stuff like that. So it's cool to see or to hear from you that that's kind of coming through my social media posts and stuff. Because it's important, it's important. So, for my entire life, let's just get rolling in the story, right?
Yep.
So it's a pretty wild story, and from the get-go, from the beginning, I always wanted to be a Chicago firefighter paramedic. Like, that's all I ever wanted to do. My father was on the job, so I looked up to him, and that was it, right? So that was my goal. That was my mission in life. I had no plan B. It was plan A, and that's it. Starting off in the career, even before that, I got accepted to a very good college, the University of Iowa. I went to the University of Iowa because I just figured, it's what to do to get your degree, whatever, this and that. I went there, and it just wasn't for me. College life was just, I knew what I wanted to do. So I came home, 18 years old. I was in EMT school. 19 years old, I was in paramedic school. At 20 years old, I was a paramedic. I got hired on my first fire department through a company called PSSI. I was on Rosemont Fire Department. I thought it was great, right? Like, I'm starting my dream. I'm starting my career. But still, my goal was Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I did 5 years on Rosemont. Became a firefighter at 23. So I was firefighter paramedic coming onto the job. I got started the process with Chicago. On the EMS side, I got hired at 25 as a paramedic, as an FPM, and I thought to myself, I made it. got on my dream job, got on my dream career. I'm on the Chicago Fire Department. You know, donning that uniform, going through graduation was one of the best days of my life, right? Took the 2006 test. My processing number on the 2006 test was incredible. It was like 234 out of 24,000 people. I was blown away. So I actually crossed over onto the fire suppression and rescue side faster than I would have been on my seniority side.
Okay.
So now, you know, within a couple of years, like 3 years on the EMS side, I crossed over onto the fire side. So now my career, my dream has truly come true. Now I'm a firefighter paramedic on the Chicago Fire Department. Out of the academy, I got assigned to the west side, where I fortunately was able to meet you. You know, I was assigned to Engine Company 117, which is a dream spot.
Dream spot.
It's like, I don't mean to brag or whatever, but
no, brag.
I have
we want that.
You know what I mean? Like it's a spot where only a few fire departments in the nation get to see the work that we do and get to do what we do. You know, I have a ton of friends on suburban fire departments that, you know, I got to rub it in their face every day that we're, you know, running into burning buildings and, you know, just doing everything. And especially being a paramedic on an ALS company, it was just awesome, man. So we saw everything, you know. That was truly my dream. And I, you know, being, you know, young, under 30 still, you know, I think a lot of it, I got enthralled in the life of the firefighter and especially the Chicago firefighter. And I felt, like you touched earlier, I felt like I was invincible. I felt like I was, you know, nothing could stop me. And oh boy, did the universe have a different plan for me. So we could fast forward to.
No, we got time. We don't got to fast forward. I thought, let's sit here in this moment just a little bit, because I wanted to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because this is like the first time, like, we talked and hung out, especially at parties and everything.
Sure.
But I never realized how close your story mirrored mine as far as getting hired in ages and everything.
Right.
So, you said you went to the University of Iowa and it wasn't for you. What was your plan to major in at the time?
I had no plan.
Okay, so you was just there.
You know what? I was there. I went into sports medicine because I knew ultimately I wanted to become a paramedic, and I knew that maybe if I got some type of base knowledge of the human body, it would be smart. But I'll be honest, when I was picking my classes out, one of my classes was rugby. So I
can see that from you too.
Yeah. I got, like, that was legitimately, I went to class one day and it was rugby class, and like the guys on the team were the teachers, and you know what I mean? Like, it was just, we did, I mean, I'm still friends with a couple guys on my floor from, I was in Burge Hall was the dorm that I was in. And I mean, we all bonded so quick, and it was stupid. We partied every night. Mm-hmm. We were in trouble with, like, the floor PAs or RAs or whoever they were, like, the second night from causing trouble and noise. I mean, there was something, you know, I don't want to get anybody in trouble or whatever, but there was something in University of Iowa. You went to this one little, like, storefront, you pay them X amount of money per month, and they give you all of the your instructors or the teachers' notes.
Okay.
So you didn't have to go to lectures. You just showed up, got your notes for the week and stuff.
We know that. You're not getting.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what's out there.
As long as we don't know that guy or that girl.
I'm not saying any names, you know.
There you go.
But I mean, I'm sure there's crazy stuff
Say
out there
no names.
now.
I'm with that.
Yeah. So it was kind of like, I mean, after a couple months there, I realized that I'm not doing anything but wasting my mom's money. And my mom, you know, divorced mom, she didn't have a lot of money growing up. You know, she was, you know, I mean, she worked so hard for such, you know, to raise my sister and I on so little, with so little help, you know, that I realized that, you know, this just isn't right. Just to get a degree when I want to go into a profession that I know at that time you didn't need a degree, right. I just felt it was being selfish on my part. So I called my mom and said, you know, I think it's time to come home. And, you know, I think she kind of understood. You know, my entire life, she always wanted a different plan for me. As crazy as it is, she actually wanted me to follow art, which is funny how the world works, man.
Yes, we will get there.
We'll get
we
there.
will get there,
right? But it's my mom never wanted me to be a firefighter. She never wanted me to be on Chicago. She always wanted me to do something different or something else with my life, and so. When I told her that I wanted to come home and pursue, get into EMT school, get into paramedic school, I knew she was upset, but I knew she also probably realized like this is the best thing for me.
Right.
I don't want to say I'm stubborn, but I'm stubborn, and she knew that if that was what my heart is set on, I'm going to go after it. I'm going to go for it. So I ended up coming home from Iowa after a couple months. A couple incredibly, incredibly fun months, but with no education added to those months.
There's another show I used to listen to, and it's just a saying, but you were just off up in college.
Yeah.
You were just there.
I was there. I was there.
You was just hanging out.
I mean, I still remember, vividly some of the nights and some of the times they were there. I mean, it was awesome couple months, but there was really no point for me to be there. Now looking back, as all this stuff, as we'll get through, it's crazy to be 40 now. I turned 40 a couple weeks ago. Turned 40.
Happy belated.
Thanks you very much. Thank you. With no college degree, because there's people with Northwestern college degrees that are, working jobs that they're way overqualified for, So to be in the position that I'm in now with no college degree is pretty wild. It's pretty. I'm very, very fortunate and lucky that I was able to kind of sidestep that at the time, but. At the time, it was right. It was right to do that. It was right to come home. It was right to go into EMT and paramedic school. And, it's looking back, there's always time for an education. I could go to college now if I want.
Yep,
online.
Now you can be the old guy off up in
right,
college.
Exactly.
I can say old guy because I'm old guy too.
Yeah,
we the same. We're the same age.
I couldn't imagine being in a class with 18-year-olds right now
so,
trying to study. I'll go online if I do.
and then they know all these super secret study tricks and everything. And there's a movie about that. I can't think of what it is, but. The intern. It wasn't. They weren't in college. They were intern. But didn't Rodney Dangerfield go to college?
I think so,
or something like that. But the thing I was gonna say, I had a similar experience, but my mother couldn't afford for me to go at all. I applied to and got accepted to the university, the Ohio State University. I almost said it wrong, like one of the football players.
Yeah, don't mess that up.
Don't mess it up. I did get accepted, but when it came time financing wise to pay for it, my mother like, what are you really going here for? You know what you want to do.
Right.
And we can't afford it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I never had the opportunity to go. So that's my claim to fame, getting accepted. Yeah.
It's still big. That's still important, man.
It was cool enough. Yeah. But then I did go to college, to Cleveland State, because from Cleveland, and it was just a university there. And again, I didn't even know what I was going for. The other place I applied was University of Cincinnati for communications.
Okay.
So at least I had a plan, but at the same time, I just wanted to be a fireman.
Right.
And I kept hearing from other people, especially like school counselors and everything, that you want to be a fireman, that's cool, that's great, but you need to have another skill set to go along with that.
100%. Yeah.
And I wasn't really on it. I was like, fireman, fun.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. Same thing with me. So when I was on Rosemont Fire Department, I was going to Harper College out in Palatine. It's a community college. It's an amazing school. And I was going for a fire science degree. So I got about, I'm like 6 hours short of my associates in fire science out of Harper. But that's when the city called, and I kind of dropped everything because it's like, well, I don't need education anymore because now I'm on big time now. I'm on Chicago Fire Department now. Yeah. So I would like to maybe go back and finish that up, clean that up, just to say I have an associate's, possibly go into a bachelor's,
Yeah.
Kind of in the beginnings of a new career now that it probably would be wise to go get a bachelor's in some type of management, safety management, something like that. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like I kind of, I don't know. It was kind of the thing to do, like you just go to college after high school and then you get your degree and then you go in your profession. But, it just wasn't my game plan. Like I knew what I wanted and that was it. That was all I wanted to go for. So yeah, we have real similar.
Okay.
stories
Yeah.
like
As far
that.
as
Yeah.
as far as that goes. So now I still don't want you to fast forward, but let's just push play.
All right. All right.
Let's get to where we were at. So we're hired on Chicago. We got to cross a little bit earlier because we came on a civilian. Our numbers were even close
Right.
too, because I was 271, because I remember, because that's a major highway back in Ohio.
for real?
So
That's awesome.
I remember my number. That's how I
Yeah.
remember my number. But and they always said that number don't mean nothing. It don't.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got the card saying what it was, I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. And it just sat on my refrigerator
Right.
for some years. And then
Yeah.
one day I woke up and had this interest card, and it was on from there.
That's
So,
awesome.
like I said, you worked on the ambo for about 3 years, crossed over, go to 117. Let's go from there.
Yeah. So, I mean, like,
Life
same
is
thing with
sweet.
you. It's amazing. It's a dream spot for every kid that ever want to be a firefighter, for every adult that ever want to be a firefighter. I mean, the having Tower Ladder 14 in my firehouse, having the experience and the guys in my firehouse, looking back, like I probably should have taken more advantage of the experience I had and the guys I had, just to learn as much as I can, instead of thinking that I was this, I'm the man, I'm this badass West Side firefighter now. Like, you kind of take advantage of those situations, especially in my, state of mind and my mentality now, that, man, it was amazing. It's such an amazing spot to be able to do what we do and did. And we the one thing I get asked constantly, I mean, I swear to God, it's almost like a daily thing, especially, meeting new people all the time and stuff. Like, I get asked all the time, do you miss being a firefighter? And I miss it dearly, obviously, but I've had to, I've had to make peace in my heart and in my mind that I'm not anymore and I can never be again. But one thing that I truly, truly do miss is the opportunity to help intervene in somebody's life that would end up not having a good outcome if we weren't able to be there to intervene with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what is the worst part, is that, I don't get to help people. And on 117 and on the West Side and Inglewood and, any fire department anywhere, we're in the position that we could actually truly help people every single day that we walk into the firehouse and that we don our uniforms. That's what I miss the most. You know what I mean? And I think I took advantage of that when I had the opportunity to be on 117 and get detailed at Truck 29 by you guys, and Engine 95 down the street, and Truck 26. And like, I think that if I had the opportunity to go back, I would try to like kind of go in slow motion and just try to take a step back and truly enjoy the opportunity that I had. So that's what I miss the most about actually being a firefighter paramedic, is that every day we had the opportunity to change someone's life for the better. And that's what I wish, looking back, I wish I would have taken more advantage of, to, not get so enthralled in the, the rock star lifestyle or the rock star mentality being on, 117, or the, the men here and the women on the job and stuff. And, kind of just absorb more of it, So I got caught up in that, and I thought I was a rock star, and I thought I was a badass, and definitely lived the lifestyle of that. And the universe, like I said earlier, had a much different plan for me,
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. Let's get into kind of what happened and what went on from there.
Sure. So I was injured. I had a distal bicep tendon rupture, so I tore my right bicep off the bone.
I think you did that on my daily day, because did you do it on?
I was on 117.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were carrying a 71-year-old lady out of a house.
Okay.
And, I felt the pop. I felt this throbbing sensation, and it felt like my arm had a heartbeat. And I was like, man, I didn't really lose grip strength, so I was like, oh, I might not be in too much danger. Like, this might be all right, I might be all right, whatever. And then we got out, got the lady in the ambulance, and I remember taking off my coat, and I looked at my bicep, and my bicep was up in my shoulder, and I was kind of like, oh man, this does not look right.
Yeah.
So I remember asking one of the guys on my rig, I said, hey, come here, take a look at this. I think I messed up my arm. And I remember distinctly, he goes, oh, gross, like, oh, shit, And
the perfect fireman answer.
yeah, and it's like, being on the West Side, we see gross stuff every day. We see brutal stuff every day. So
but not to us, not to
like,
each other.
Don't say that to me, man. Like, compose yourself a little bit, bro. This is me. But so then I remember Lori Timothy was the paramedic on the scene, and she was on the ambulance. And I remember one of the guys yelled to Lori, "Hey, Lori, Spencer's hurt. Spencer messed his arm up, and she comes over and let me see. I remember lifting on my t-shirt and she goes, "Oh my God, what did you do?" And I go, "Oh, come on." I'm like, two people. Like, come on, we're tougher than this, right? So I remember telling my lieutenant, I said, "Hey, Lou, I think I messed up." I'm like, it was weird because I'm sure anybody that's having to can relate, but like, you think if you rip your bicep off the bone, like, you can't move your arm. Yeah. It was crazy because I was able to move my arm, I was able to move my hand, whatever. Ended up calling an ambulance. I was transported to Northwestern. I got evaluated, and then I got set up with a doc from Rush through the department, and I had surgery. There's a time limit on it, so you have to be, you got to have surgery within X amount of days, or there could be permanent damage, whatever. So I was in operating room within a couple of days, and I had my bicep reattached to my forearm. So through that, this is kind of where it all started. So with this, there was a complication after this post-surgery, right? Post-operation. There was only one real, like, what's it called? I can't think of the word, but one possible, like, bad outcome of the surgery.
Okay.
I can't think of what I'm talking
you said complication, or
like
one
major complication could be from this, and it's
side effect. Not side effect. I know.
I know.
And then once we're done recording, we're like, "Oh, that was the word."
Text me at 3 a.m. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, edit that in. But so I knew the risks, right? And I had to have my arm fixed, whatever. So let's do this. So we did it, whatever. So after a few days, I couldn't move my hand, which was really weird, right? So I was able to grip, but I wasn't able to open my hand at all.
Now this is your right.
My right hand, yeah, of course.
And you're right-handed?
Of course, I'm right-handed.
Okay.
So yes, this is my right hand.
Just
right arm.
Just making sure.
Yeah. Because that just throws a whole different dynamic into the mix of trying to learn everything, left-handed. And through all this, I live alone. I got a dog, single. So it's like not like I could just be like, "Hey,
you hear that?
Hey, hunt." Well,
single.
I didn't mean to throw that
ready
in
to
there.
mingle. No,
I didn't mean to throw that in there. But
why not?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. But like, it's,
and they
it's
just listening.
Not like, right.
So
it's not like I could say like, "Hey, hey, babe, can you do this for me?" Or whatever. Like, no, it's just on my own, So, so that's one of the major side effects, or one of the major complications from that surgery was your radial nerve damage, right? So your radial nerve runs on the outside, right where one of the incisions is made, this and that. So I knew the risks, whatever, and I couldn't. Now it's like 3 days post-operation. I still can't move my hand. Mm-hmm. So I could grip things, and I'm in a cast, so it's not like I'm not like really using my hand that much anyway. But you start thinking about things. You start like Googling side effects and this and that. And it's like, oh, right, radial nerve damage, this and that, blah, blah, whatever. And I'm like, come on. I'm like, what are the chances?
How bad can this be? Yeah.
Right. Like, now that won't happen to me. And, I said that quite a few times over the years, no, it ain't going to happen to me. Mm-hmm. So, it goes about that. Ultimately, my right radial nerve was damaged. So we didn't know if it was like a bifurcation or severed or just strangled from like the spreaders, whatever this and that. But now I can't move my right hand. Mm-hmm. So now I'm thinking, I'm terrified, because now is my career over? Am I ever going to be able to move my hand again? This and that. So of course the department's like, they're like, well, we'll send you, to a specialist. We'll send you to this. We'll send you that, and everything just takes so long. Everything's, all the specialist is only there on, the third Tuesday of every odd month, right. Between this
especially
hour.
When it's you, because it feels like I want to get this done. Like us. It's like that personality. Well, I want to get fixed immediately.
Yeah, like, let's
what's
go.
What's the
what do you
fastest I could do?
Right.
This is your job. I know my job.
Right.
This is your job to fix me. So
we don't get to like take days off and like, oh, we're only going to respond to fires on this day, on this time.
Right.
Like, no, like,
I understand.
So then the specialist, like I meet with him, and he wanted to do so like I was getting so many different like people saying no, just leave it be, it'll regenerate even if it's strangled, as long as it's not bifurcated or severed, split in half, like it'll regenerate. It takes forever for nerves to regenerate, blah blah whatever. It's like, well, I don't got time. Like we only have a certain amount of time before we get back to work. Before it's like something has to happen. Like there's a decision that has to be made. So this one surgeon wanted to do a nerve graft where they take a cadaver nerve, which is a nerve out of a dead body, and graft it into your nerve. Mm-hmm. So at this time, this was a long time, well, not a long time ago, but years ago, this was a fairly new procedure, right? Uh-huh. Not every doctor in the country can do nerve grafts, right? Because nerves are so fragile anyway. It's not like a skin graft, which is pretty common these days, So I'm already kind of terrified of like, well, do I want a cadaver? That's a dead body, a nerve out of a dead body in me, and that kind of plays a part into the future of the story too.
Okay.
But I was kind of like, nah, just let my body, let's see if it'll heal, this and that, whatever. You get fed so many different opinions and so many different ideas and advice from the fire department. Everybody's an expert in everything,
Oh my God.
At the firehouse.
We got a table here, but if it was in the kitchen, then we could literally solve every problem in the world.
Every one of them at the firehouse kitchen table with a cup of coffee will solve all the problems. So, I'm getting fed all these advice and all this and this, do this, that. No, do this. No, this is going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to do this. And it's kind of like, well, that's awesome to hear, but it's also like, this is my body. This is my right hand that I can't move. Right. You know what I mean? Like it was so crazy to wake up every day and not be able to move my right hand.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Just like can look at it and it's just not doing what you tell it to do.
It was crazy because like, you're telling your brain we're you could say any firefighter, paramedic, any first responder are pro athletes, right? We're paid to use our bodies, right? So it's like all day long you're telling your body, do this, do that, lift this, do that, grab this, grab that. You know what I mean? So it's like when your brain is telling your body like, open your hand to grab that cup, and it's not opening. It's like it's such a trip, like a mind trip, to be like, wow, what is actually happening right now? How did this happen? How did I end up like this? And this, in the grand scheme of it, is such a minuscule problem, but still, it was like, it's my right hand. I can't move it, and I have a time limit, before something happens, right? So we ended up not doing the nerve graft, and I kind of just ended up going idle for a little bit with that. So, it's crazy being off duty, and, time goes so quickly, but it also goes so slow at the same time.
Yeah.
It's crazy, so I'm off the job on layup, and, time goes, right? So now I start to feel sick. You want to get into this now? This part?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it with
the arm. Yeah.
My arm was, we could just recap that real quick, but my right hand was paralyzed for about 4.5 years.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was,
it was wild. I had that crazy claw on that
I do remember.
It was called a dynamic splint, right? And it would look like a Wolverine claw. So I wore that so I could actually utilize my hand. So I had that for like 4.5 years, but thank God, knock on wood, my nerve regenerated, came back, and I actually have full use of my hand now, which is awesome, right? Mm-hmm. So, but while all this was going on, I started to feel sick, right? And it was like in maybe September, because I remember for my birthday is in October, early October, and I remember I didn't go out for my birthday because I started to feel sick, right? Mm-hmm. I started to feel ill. And I just didn't know what was wrong with me. It kind of felt like a cold was coming on that just never got better, but always kind of continually got worse. But I didn't know really how it got worse. But then, like, as the days go by, now again, I'm off duty, so I don't have to worry about going to the firehouse with a cold, this and that. I'm a paramedic. I'm a real big tough guy. I know how to take care of myself. Just got a cold. It's no big deal. So you'll shoot, Dayquil every day, take vitamins, whatever, take your, NyQuil to go to bed, and I'm fine, right? Nothing's severely going to be wrong with me because I'm this young, tough guy, right?
Right.
So I just continue to feel worse and worse and worse. So I felt worse, like to the point where I even want to go out for my birthday, felt worse and worse and worse. And days just it literally just turned into like one day, the week turned into the month and, whatever. And so then come December of this year, I got a text message from my brother-in-law, and he said that he goes, your mom's sick. You should come to the hospital. So, sorry.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
My mom was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So she was deemed terminal right away. She had a huge mass in her right lung. The cancer metastasized to her brain, her ovaries, her right hip, like within days, right? So now my mom's just the toughest, most badass woman you could ever meet. She's 100% Italian. She just worked every day of her life. She did and just got everything she could and did everything she could for my sister and I, and she never complained. She just worked. She did her thing. She raised us the best that she could, and she just took life, like took life with the blows, like and went at it. She was such an amazing human being. So I wanted to be there for my mom every day. So now it turned into my mom's fight against cancer. The one physician there told me that they estimated she probably had about 3 months to live. So seeing my mom every day, like I knew there's no way. Like every day I saw her deteriorate, and every day, like it was just worse and worse and worse. And the aggression of the cancer, just seeing that, like I knew there's no way she's got 3 months. This is my own personal, obviously I didn't say that to anybody or, tell my family or whatever, but I like now everything with me is out the back door. Like I'm not even care about how I feel. Like I got to be there with my mom every day.
Yeah.
So every day turned into, I was feeling worse and worse, but I was going out to Alexian Brothers. She was in Alexian Brothers in Elk Grove Village, which is fairly close to the city, right outside O'Hare. So it wasn't a horrible drive. It wasn't like I was driving hours a day, but it was a commute to get there, be with my mom as much as I could, as long as I could, and then, go home. And then, go back the next day and be with my mom the next day. Every day I continued to feel like worse and worse and worse. Now I wasn't working out. I was ordering food out. Like I'd order, double meals. So I had lunch, I had dinner, I had food when I came back. So I wasn't really eating well. I definitely wasn't exercising because I felt so crappy. So I could tell I started gaining weight. But I didn't know like to the extent, right? So every day I would feel worse. It would start like there would be like a new ailment, I guess, like not every day, but maybe like once a week, right? And it got to the point where my mom was going through chemo. My mom went through radiation. She fought like tooth and nail, like the hardcore, tough Italian single mom did, and I couldn't tell, like I wanted to get to her hospital bed. I wanted to tell her, oh my God, Mom, I feel so sick, but I couldn't tell her because I know she would just throw everything out the window herself and be like, call a doctor in. She'd be like, pull another hospital bed in here and put my son in here.
And that's not what you want.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. I don't need her to worry about me.
It's about her.
Yeah, exactly. She's fighting for her life here, and all she ever said was, because I'd be like, what's going on? Why did this happen? All my mom would ever say is, it is what it is, Michael. It is what it is. And I'm like, you just... like when is the point where like you're allowed to say F this, like F this world, F this life? Like she had such a hard life, and still like to her last day, she was like, it is what it is, it is what it is. This is what happens, and we're gonna go at this now, So seeing my mom's fight, through cancer, and literally, her fight for her life, was so impactful for me into what I went into. It was incredible. Like even, like my mom's last lessons for me, still I think about every day. So I started to feel really, really sick, like my mom's last few days, like to the point where getting up and walking to the bathroom was like nauseating.
It was like a chore within itself.
It was insane. It was like I would be out of breath. I would just feel horrible. Going from the parking lot to my mom's hospital room, I would stop in the bathroom and I would puke because I was so exhausted, right? And then like her last week, I started coughing up blood. And I was like, shit, this isn't part of my French. I'm like, this isn't good, you know.
We got the E. It's okay. Say whatever you want to say.
I'm trying my best not to.
We're here for you.
So it was like, you know, now I'm coughing up blood. So I mean, like being a paramedic, it's like, you know, it's scary enough to know, like, you know enough to really scare yourself, but you also know enough to be like, no, that can't be happening, or this can't be happening. Like, it's just got to be a cold, right? So in my mind, I had a cold that turned into the flu, that turned into upper respiratory infection, that turned into lower respiratory infection, then now turned into pneumonia, right? So I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, right? That in my own mind, that's what's going on. And you know what? No, you know, at the time I was 33, no 33-year-old dies from pneumonia. No 33-year-old dies from the flu. I'm a big tough guy, right? Like this is, I'm going to get through this. It's all good, whatever. Still got to be there for my mom. Not going to let my mom know anything. Like I would cough into a tissue in my next to my mom's hospital bed, and it would be full of blood, and I would throw it away and pray that my mom didn't see that, because she'd be like, she would lose her mind. I know she would lose her mind if she knew how sick I was, you know. But my mom, you know, ultimately, my mom was diagnosed on December 16th, 2013, and she ended up passing away January 15th, 2014. So it wasn't even a month. My mom, I mean, cancer just absolutely ravaged her. And my mom passed away. She took her final breaths. I was sitting right there holding her hand when she passed away. And, you know, seeing her strength through all of it. Sorry, man.
No, it's all good.
It really, like, you know, obviously it affected me. But it was also like, damn, man, my mom didn't complain about anything. She literally, I heard her last heartbeat on the heart monitor, and she still never complained. She never complained. She just took the blows and went, you know? And I'd think to myself, like, on the job, right? We see so many people in different times in their life, and, like, people, like, that you think to yourself that, you know, it's like, you know, is this really a big deal? Is this really a big deal? And people have different emotional, you know, reactions to it. And like my mom's emotional reaction was just like, it is what it is. You know, this is it. I'm going to go rest now, you know? And, so my mom ended up passing away, and, you know, now we just got to make sure my mom's at rest, take care of the services. And then I said to myself, all right, I'll go get checked out. But at this point now, like, to be honest, and, you know, I know it's not a tough guy. Like I keep saying, I'm such a tough guy, but I started to get scared because I'm like, that's
more than understandable.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, no one wants to admit it, especially, you know, anybody that's in a profession like us. Like, you know, we're called to be there for people in their most terrifying times, and we're the ones that have to take it and, you know, pretend like we're not scared. Right. But at this point I was a little scared. And, so we had my mom's funeral, and I remember putting my suit on, and it was just tight. Like I barely fit. Right. And I was like, damn, I've been putting on a lot of weight. Like I need to get right with this, you know,
do something. Yeah.
But I was just so exhausted. Obviously I'm not going to start.
Then you still got the hand that's not.
Yeah, my hand's paralyzed. Yeah, it's half paralyzed. Yeah, okay. That's still, like, at that point I was like, I'm just, you know, whatever. Who cares at this point? Yes. You know, like, it's still attached, so maybe one day it'll work again. But, you know, there's so many other things going on right now. It's
that's a lot.
What do I even need a right hand for at this point? Like, you know, but so, you know, we had my mom's funeral. It was a great funeral. And I remember texting one of my buddies. He's actually on the job now. I texted him. He was such a good friend through all this. He knew I wasn't feeling right. He knew I wasn't sick, or I wasn't just sick. Right. And he constantly would say, you know, do you want me to bring food over? Do you need anything? Like, let me take you to the hospital. You got to get checked out, you know, like this and that. Of course, like, nah, I'm good, whatever. So after my mom's funeral, I get home and I remember texting him and I'm like, bro, like, I think it's time. Like, I gotta go to the hospital, man. Like, everything's done. My mom's at rest now. Funeral's over. Like, I gotta go to the hospital. So he says to me, he goes, oh, fuck. He's like, tonight? I go,
tonight?
I go, yeah, man, why? He goes, well, remember the girl that you hooked me up with? And I was like, yeah, what's up, man? He's like, well, I just told her I was going to take her out to the movies.
Tonight was the night.
Yeah. He goes, I want to take her out to the movies. I'm ready to go pick her up. I'm like, and then of course me, like,
God, just wait, dude.
I was like, oh no, like, hell yeah, bro. I'm so happy you guys are going out. Like, yeah, man. You know what? I've had a long day. Like, go do your thing. You know, hit me up in the morning.
Look at that.
So he would drive by.
You're a hell of a guy.
Yeah, I'm something like that. I would drive by, and even like the story of like hooking him up with this girl it was hilarious. Like, it was just so funny. I was just so happy that they were going out together, and I didn't have to be there too, because that's kind of like how it started. He was like, oh, you know, hey, let's set up, like, hook me up with this girl. So set up this. So like, I like asked her friend out to like go out with us, so we had a double date. Like, so you know what I mean? It was almost like I'd hold this guy's hand and like get this girl's number and tell him to do this now. So now I was kind of like, hell yeah, man, go, like, have fun.
He was like Marty McFly coaching his dad.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Exactly. You know, like, so I was just so pumped. I was like, dude, you know what? Just go have fun. Have a great night tonight. He would drive by my place going to work. So I'm like, you know, in the morning, I'm like, you mind just coming by, swinging by, picking me up and dropping me off at Masonic? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. I'll text you at, 5:15 or whatever, and I'll drop you off then. I'm like, cool. I'm like, you know what? It's better. Like, I'm just gonna not think about anything tonight. I'm gonna just, have one night, and then tomorrow morning, it's game time. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna figure out what's wrong with me. We're gonna hit this run at 5 a.m. Let's do this.
Okay.
So go to bed, whatever. Wake up the next morning. He comes and picks me up, and he's like, I'm so glad that you finally are going to get checked out. So I go, yeah. I go, it'll be all right. Like, whatever. So I get to the hospital. I walk up into the emergency room, and it was actually a dude on the job was the triage nurse. And I remember telling him, I'm like, I just don't feel good. I go, I feel horrible. I go, in about the past week, I've been coughing up blood. I go, I don't think I've been exposed to TB in any sense or whatever, this and that. I go, I don't do anything. I'm at home, whatever. I got a paralyzed right hand. I haven't been, running calls or whatever for a while. So it's like, but whatever, do whatever you got to do. So he's like, all right, they triage me. They put me in the isolation room, of course, for PD or TB precautions and stuff. And they come in and do a chest x-ray. So my chest x-ray comes back, and I told him, I'm like, I think I just got a cold that turned into the flu. That
you
turned
gave him the
pneumonia.
whole paramedic breakdown.
Yeah.
Upper respiratory, lower respiratory.
This is what I think. Like, let's just isolate it. Let's take care of it. I got to get on some IV antibiotics. Let's do this. Like, let's hit it, And so they come in and do the chest x-ray. And then I remember the doctor from when I was on the ambulance in that neighborhood, I would go in there, and I liked Masonic because there's so many people on the job that work in the hospital, in the ER there. I've known a few of the doctors for years. They're friends with my family and stuff like that. So I just felt comfortable going to Masonic. Little did I know, like, what all was going on and what I needed or whatever. But so chest x-ray comes back. My right lung is filled with fluid. It's about 3/4 or like 77% filled with fluid. So wow. The doc comes in and she puts my x-ray up, and she's like, this is the largest pneumonia I've seen this season, right? So, because now we're in January. It was like January, my mom's funeral was like January 21st. So this is January 22nd, 2014, right? So she's like, this is a massive pneumonia. Like, look at your lung. So she's like, how did you even walk in here? She goes, how'd you get here? I go, one of my buddies dropped me off, and, I just walked in. She goes, I don't even know how you walked in with this much fluid in your lung, this and that. I'm like, well, I go, when I move, it sucks. I go, but when I just rest, when I sit here or when I'm laying, I'm laying on the examining bed or whatever, I go, I feel fine. Like, I feel cool now. Yeah. But when I got to get up and I got to move, it's like, oh my God, it's exhausting. I got to sit down right away. She's like, well, tell me what else is going on? I go, the exhaustion's crazy. I go, if I walk for too long, like walking my dog was horrendous. Like I would get back in and I would have to throw up, and it wasn't like anything. It was just almost the act of like throwing up, not actually throwing anything up. But I was exhausted, right? So I was like, I had a suit on yesterday. I've gained a ton of weight. I go, my legs were like killing me by the end of the day. Like I had to get home and just put my legs up, this and that. I go, I kind of like have trouble breathing when I sit in a funny way, this and that. So she looks at my legs and she goes, oh my God, she's feeling my ankles. I'm feeling my calf. She goes, how long have your legs been swollen like this? I go, I have no idea. I go, I live life like a 80-year-old Italian guy. I'm in a sweatsuit every day, I'm in a jumpsuit. I go, I don't have to put my uniform on. I don't really have to wear jeans. I don't have to do anything.
I don't have to, right.
I go, I don't know. I go, I haven't been working out for months now because I feel sick and like, so I'm gaining weight. I'm ordering pizza every day, like, I go, I don't know. So she's like, we're going to do EKG on you. I go, all right, whatever. Like, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
She's like, this is the biggest pneumonia I've seen. So I'm like, we know it's a pneumonia, whatever.
Yeah.
So she's like, we're going to start an IV on you. We're going to get you on IV antibiotics, whatever. I go, all right, cool. So then this happens. So then she says, well, let's do a EKG on you. All right, cool. Do whatever you want. So they come in, do an EKG. Then they come in and they do a 12-lead EKG. So then they leave and she comes back in and she's like, when's the last time you had an echocardiogram? And I go, ma'am, I don't even know what echocardiogram is.
Right.
Like I at the time I had no idea. I know being a paramedic probably should, but and having so many patients, that's like,
we not doing them, so we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. People like, your patient, you got an 89-year-old patient with chest pain.
We take them there. And,
I had my echo last month. Like, oh, cool. All right, yeah, right. What an echo is.
I'll write that down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll note that. But so I go, I've never had one. I'm 33. I've never had an echocardiogram before. So she goes, well, we're gonna do one. I go, all right, do whatever you want. So while we're waiting for that, she's like talking about the IV, the antibiotics. She's like, well, while we're waiting, we put the orders in for this. We're going to start you on IV antibiotics, just in case, I go, oh, cool. I go, hey, how long do you think I'm going to be here? Like, do you think I'm going to get out of here soon? I go, I got a dog at home.
I got to walk my dog.
Yeah. I go, I got a dog at home. Like I got to get him. I left pretty early at 5 a.m. this morning, now it's like maybe 8, 9 in the morning. And she's like, you're not leaving for a couple days. And I go, whoa. What do you mean a couple of days? She goes, did you see your lung? Like that, we need to clear that out. We need to get you on antibiotics, this and that. I go, can I just get them to go? Like, there has to be like pill form antibiotics I can have, right? And she's like, you're out of your mind. She's like, no. She goes, call one of your little firefighter friends, tell them to get your dog, whatever. So I go, all right. So then the echo comes in. So all like, I find out all an echocardiogram is an ultrasound, right? So this ultrasound tech comes in, does the echocardiogram. I was like, oh, cool. I didn't have to get poked or prodded or, more IV pinches or whatever. Like, that was easy. I'll do echoes every day for all I care. So then she comes back in and she says, well, we're going to do a chest CT. So I go, all right. I go, well, like, why? We've done so many tests already. Like, why do we got to do a chest CT? I mean, I said yes to it, like, whatever she wants. But I said, why do we got to do the chest CT? And she goes, you know what? It's just like the last piece of the puzzle that we need right now. So we're just going to do the chest CT, and I'll tell you everything that's going on when it's done. I go, all right, cool. So I go get the chest CT, come back in, and now she comes in to my hospital room with a couple other doctors, right? So now we got like...
So now they're teaming up on you.
5 doctors in the room now, right?
Okay.
So it's her and it's a few other doctors. So she starts introducing them and she says cardiologist, and their names, right? So I was like, well, why is this team of cardiologists in my ER room now, right? She goes, well, let me explain to you what we found, right? She's like, so we knew your lung was filled with fluid. She goes, but we don't think it's a pneumonia, right? She goes, so we did a EKG. She goes, we saw some abnormalities on the EKG. And I was like, well, tell me like what you saw. Like, is it a different rhythm? Am I in a block? Am I in a sinus? Like what, just kind of like explain. She goes, it's just
going medic-y on them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I want to know, I don't want to don't beat around the bush. Don't sugarcoat anything. Like tell me straight up what is happening. Right. So, she was like, you know what? She goes, nothing significant. Like, it wasn't like I was throwing PVCs or I was in like a 3rd-degree block or anything like that. But like, she's like, it just didn't look good. Like your rhythm just didn't look right. She goes, that's why we did the echo. She goes, and seeing your echo, she goes, we saw that your heart function, or your EF, your ejection fraction, she said we saw that it was extremely low. So she says that's why we did the CT scan, because we needed to see what like your heart looked like and what was going on in your chest, like what's causing your heart to be this low, right? So my EF, or my ejection fraction, was 11%. So to me, I was kind of like, well, what does 11% mean? Like, I don't know if that's good. Is that bad? Like, what is the EF of 11? And she said, one of the cardiologists said, like, you know, an EF of like 17, people just die, right? Like you're not supposed to be alive with an EF of 11, right? And like even to this day, when I tell this story to people that are, you know, cardiac nurses or, you know, other cardiologists or this and that, when I say I had an EF of 11, they're like, no, you didn't. Like that's not right. Like
they gave you the wrong number.
Like, well, yeah, like that, you shouldn't be talking right now, right?
Right.
So then she said that within the seat, so the EF's 11, you know, my right lung's filled with fluid, my EF is 11, my heart just looks horrible. She said the pumping function of my heart looked horrible. And the CT showed I had one blood clot in the right atrium of my heart. It was like lodged on the wall, right on the inside of my heart. Then she said they found about 10 or so blood clots across my lungs. So I had one blood clot inside the right atrium of my heart. I had 10 blood clots. They said like 10 to 12 blood clots throughout my lungs. My EF was 11, you know, and she said my heart from the CT scan, it looked like it was about 2 times the size of what my heart from my chest cavity should be, right? So my heart's swollen and it's functioning incredibly poorly, and I got blood clots all over, right? So what she said, well, I mean, ultimately, I said, what are you telling me? Are you telling me I'm in like CHF or something? And she's like, yeah, that's exactly what we're telling you. We're telling you you're in acute dilated. Well, at first, they didn't know what caused it or what was causing it. So they didn't want to say anything, right? Like, because God forbid you don't say anything about anything. Doctors don't want to say anything because, you know, everyone's going to sue everybody these days, whatever. So I didn't really get like an actual diagnosis till I was at Christ later, like a couple of days later. So she said, well, all we know right now is that your heart is failing, right? You're in acute heart failure. Your AEF's 11. And she pretty much said, so the team that was there that I met was the cath lab team, right? So that's the team of doctors that do emergency, you know, heart transplant, do emergency chest, or, you know, crack your chest and do that stuff, you know, this and that. So I'm like, that's kind of insane that the team of doctors that, you know, are there to save your life for your heart are sitting there making eye contact with me right now. Right. So she pretty much said, like, my case for them is way too, I'm out of their league in a sense. So she's like, we've already made phone calls to Loyola and to Christ, their heart centers. She said, whichever hospital has an ICU bed open up first, you're going to. So I was like, wait a second. I went from, you know, going maybe 2 days here on a gen med floor for infection, for, you know, like a pneumonia to ICU. I go, how long am I going to be in the ICU for? Yeah. And she was literally like, I can't, I'm not even touching that.
It's out of our league.
Yeah. I'm not answering any questions at this point. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they started to plead the fifth real quick, right? So she's like, we have a cardiac room open, so we're gonna transfer you to the cardiac floor, and then when an ambulance comes, you know, we're gonna send you by ambulance to or whoever comes first, right? So before I went to the floor, so now I'm like scrambling, because now I'm like, oh crap, what about my dog? Man?
Yeah,
like, Capone's sitting at home, he's clueless on this.
Yeah,
he doesn't know what's happening right now. Yeah. So I'm like, man, I gotta find someone to watch my dog. I'm texting, you know, all kinds of people to come get my dog, come watch my dog. He's an 85-pound pit bull. Like, who wants that kind of responsibility? If he was like a little lap dog, it'd be different. Like, just put him in your pocket and walk around. This guy's he loves being on top of you. He thinks he's a lap dog.
He's a real dog.
Yeah,
I've seen him. I've seen pictures of him.
Yeah, he eats a ton of food. Like, that's a big responsibility I dump on somebody now, you know, for an unknown amount of time. Like, how long am I in the hospital for? Yeah. So got a hold of a couple of my buddies, and, you know, like, luckily I was able to find some people to take care of him and watch him while I was in the hospital. So was as spoiled as ever, you know. But so I got transferred up to a cardiac floor, and then a bed at Christ opened up. So then they told me that they called a ambulance to transport me, private ambulance to transport me over. And I actually knew the medic on the ambulance. It was funny.
That's awesome.
It was kind of funny, like, the paramedics came. Well, it was an EMT driving. I believe she was an EMT, and then paramedic and nurse in the back, and then a paramedic. Like, there was a critical care nurse.
Yep.
And then because we had all these, machines,
monitors and stuff.
So the paramedic though was on the job, or is on the job, and he's like, man, I read Mike Spencer, and I'm like, no, that can't be.
Same
the guy from 117. He's like, and I walk in, and it is you. I'm like, wow, what's up, bro? Isn't this wild, And like they were awesome though. Like it was weird though. I'll be honest. The nurse on the rig was like, Mike, I want to do something, and I don't want to freak you out or anything. And by this point, I'm like, bro, like just
it's past that point.
You ain't gonna freak me out, man. Like I'm already deep into this, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what can you possibly do to me that's gonna freak me out? So he's like, well, it's small in the back of an ambulance. You know how it is, and I want to do this. So like, I think it's the best interest for you in case something happens and this and that. I'm finally like, bro, just stop talking. What do you want to do to me? And he goes, I want to put the defib pads on you. I was like, that's a great idea. Like, throw those pads. I'll put them on myself, guy. Like, are you kidding me? Like, yes, let's save time in case I die. You got these
right,
pads.
just push the button.
I'm like, then I'm kind of like, why didn't you guys put the pads on me? Like, you're all worried about my heart. No one put these pads on. Like, get them on right now. I'm taking my shirt off. Like, hell yeah. So I get transferred over to Christ. And by this time, it's like 6:00 p.m., Chicago time in January. It starts snowing in the ambulance. It's like it takes us forever to get there, right? So we're at Masonic on the north side, off of Belmont-ish, and we're going to 95th and Pulaski, right, for Christ. So this is going to be an adventure in a drive. It's snowing in January in rush hour traffic, right? I'm like, man, I might not make it to Christ. You know what I mean? Like this might be a wild ride, but we get there, and I get put into the ICU, and the whole team of nurses meets me and stuff. And one kind of like impactful thing that happened at that point, when they were moving me over, the ambulance, put me next to the bed, and I'm like, I'll move myself over. Like, I knew I was big, right? I knew I was overweight at that time, and I'm like, I'll move over. And I remember all the nurses like, no, don't move, like, don't exert, like, everybody was afraid of me just dropping dead, right?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'll do it. Like, I'm big, I don't want any of you ladies to throw your back out on my big ass. Yeah. So they refused. They were adamant about it. So I gave in and let them, lift me over. And I remember I'm getting vitals taken, and then they're checking IVs, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And it was like, they were such an amazing team there. But I remember one of the nurses saying, age, this, that, height, whatever, and weight. And I remember this one lady, one of the nurses wrote it down on a sheet of paper, and she just handed it over to the other lady. And I was kind of like, no, this is no secrets. Like, what do I weigh? I'm like, why are you hiding that? Everyone's yelling, oh, he's 5'10", oh, he's 33, oh, this and that. All of a sudden the weight comes up, and everyone's like, oh, just put that on a piece of paper. Right. I'll say that out loud. I was like, well, what do I weigh? And I remember one of the nurses turns and looks at me. She goes, 280. I said, I'm 280 pounds. And she's like, yeah. I go, all right. So I go to myself, I think to myself, all right, like, this is where it starts right now. 280 pounds. I'm like, I'm not that tall. Like, I should be 180. You know what I mean? Like, 280. I'm like, oh my God. So that's kind of like where this mentality now starts, right? I'm like, oh my God. Like, forget all about like the blood clots in your heart and the heart function, this and that. Like, I was almost embarrassed to be that big at this age. Yeah. Like, I'm almost 300 pounds, man. Right. So I'm like, oh man. So I started the conversation in my head. Like, if I get out of here, if I make it out of here alive, I'm losing 100 pounds. Like, that's right off the bat. This is it. Like, all right. So now it's in my head. Like, let's get all this other stuff going. Right. So that was so impactful, because like, I just wasn't expecting to hear that, and all this other stuff that's happening and everything else is like, that stuck out of my head. Like, oh my God, like, damn, man, like,
that's a real number.
That's huge, dude. Like 280, like, that's too much. So then like they're telling me, everybody's gone for the day pretty much. Like all the cardiologists are off, like I'm going to be tied into everything here. They're already going to start my medications and all this stuff. And, my nurses is like, she's like, you're not going to meet everybody till tomorrow morning. She goes, but I'm going to tell you this, tomorrow morning it's going to be a whirlwind. Like tomorrow morning, you're going to have teams of doctors coming in, waves of cardiologists coming in and talk to you to try to understand the situation, like to hear the case. She goes, there's going to be a lot of students that are just going to want to see you, want to talk to you. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a second, like I'm not on display here.
You're a
like,
case study
I'm
now.
not a piece of meat. Like save me first, but then we could talk later,
Yeah.
But then it was next day, I met my cardiologist who I love to this day. He's amazing. And, I honestly want to say like the nurses there and my cardiologist, like, I swear they saved my life. Like the nurses are incredible. And, my cardiologist, just to jump forward real quick, like when I was being discharged, he's like, all right, I'll set you up with a cardiologist that I trust on the north side, this and that. I go, whoa. I go, no, you're not. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I go, I'm never leaving you.
Yeah.
Like you're stuck with me he's only a few years older than me too. So I'm like, you ain't retiring soon. You're my case I'm your case forever, guy. Like
have car wheel travel.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll drive to 95th Street. Okay, ain't that far,
Exactly.
So, but yeah, like I met him that day. I met the whole team of cardiologists that day. I met, different nurses and stuff. And it was like full blown, like, let's go. And I told them, do whatever you got to do to save my life. Like, I don't care what has to be done. Just do it. And, let's get going. Like, I want to feel better. I want to get through this. Like, let's see what, we can do and go from it. Right. So it was at that point, all questions were done because I said, just do whatever you got to do to save my life. Right. So I remember I had, 2 IVs in me. They did a Swan's catheter, which is it's like a catheter surgically implanted into your clavicular vein. And it was like a main line to my heart. Right. So that's where they gave most of my medication in there. And like you got to do like a heparin flush first, so you feel this burning sensation. Oh, it's crazy, man. Yeah. But it goes right into your heart. There was wires that went into my heart to like read my my ejection fraction, my output, all the strength, all the stuff. Like it was just crazy. So like to me, I'm kind of thinking like, all right, well, I did say do whatever you got to do to save my life. So they're going full charge. So this is what the Swan's catheter is, this is whatever. So then now, I mean, like time flew by, but it also felt like it was like minutes were hours. You know what I mean? So like day 2, I remember them saying, well, you're going to have an LVAD implanted. And I was like, whatever. I don't know. Well, this is like a Swan's catheter. Yeah, throw an LVAD in there. I got IVs in me. Like, whatever. Let's just do all the alphabets. Like we'll do all the letters. So I had no idea what an LVAD was, right? And so I had the device. So they're telling me, they're prepping me for surgery, right? So they told me that I'm going to do angiogram. They're going to do tests on me. So I got to get prepped for that. I got to do this. I got to do that. Like this is all the things that are going to happen to me, right? So it's kind of like they throw all this stuff at you, but you don't know when it's going to happen because this has got to happen. This has got to happen. You got to see this doc. You got to get these tests. You got to get those tests. It's like, all right. So I just said yes to whatever. Do whatever you guys got to do and let's go. So I was being prepped for LVAD, right? First, had to have an LVAD implanted. So I had no idea what that was, no idea what the process was, whatever. So I'm just like, sure, do whatever you got to do. I already said, do whatever you got to do to save my life. So the LVAD rep, right? The device rep comes in to tell me about the device, right? So this isn't a nurse. This isn't a cardiologist. This is just a young lady that is an expert on this device, right? So she comes in and she starts telling me about the LVAD. So she's like, all right, so this is what's going to happen. Like, it's going to be implanted next to your heart. And it's going to be here. And you're going to have wires up here in your chest, like your upper right, your quadrant of your chest. You're going to have wires coming in. Then you're going to have wires in your lower right abdomen quadrant coming out. And you're going to have a battery pack. And it's going to be, your battery pack's going to be on, 24/7. And this and that. It's going to charge the device or keep the device charged, whatever this and that. And she goes, well, they told me that you're a paramedic. She goes, so I'm going to tell you this. She goes, I don't want you to ever feel for a pulse, for your own pulse.
Right.
So I go, all right. I go, well, why not? And she goes, you're not going to have one.
Because it's not going to be there.
So I go, what? I go, hold on, ma'am. I go, what do you mean I'm not going to have a pulse? Like, that's creepy, She goes, well, the device, it's just a constant flow and, it's just blood's going to be constantly going through this and that. So she's like, so you won't get that pump of your heart, so you won't feel a pulse, And I go, well, what? I go, what's my heart going to be doing at this time? Like, why my heart's still going to be pumping, right? You know, like beating, but this device is going to take over the flow of this and that. She goes, well, what they do is, she goes, they're going to turn your heart off. I go, they're going to turn my heart off.
Yeah.
I go, what do you mean they're going to turn my heart off? I go, when did they turn my heart back on? And she goes, now she's confused. And I'm like,
she's like, I don't know.
She goes, well,
let me get back to you on that.
They're not going to. I go, what do you mean they're not going to? She's like, Mike, you're getting a new heart. Like you're having a heart transplant. I go, who the fuck decided that?
You said whatever you have to do to keep me alive.
100%. Little did I know whatever to do to keep me alive is let's get this guy a new heart, right?
Yeah.
So I go, hold on. I go, who decided that?
You did.
And she goes, I'm going to call your doctor. I go, yeah, you know what? Maybe get doctor over here real quick, So he comes walking in and he's like, Mike, what is the problem? What is going on here? I go, who said I'm getting a new heart? And he goes, we did. Like, we decided, like, this is the course of action is this, and that. You're getting a new heart. I go, hold on. Now, mind you, I'm in the ICU for a couple days now. I feel 2 million times better, right?
Yeah.
The first night I was there with all the medications I was on and everything like that, I lost 9 pounds from just fluid. I was going to the bathroom every 15 minutes. I was filling those urinals up, and it was like nonstop, right?
Outstanding.
So I'm already feeling fantastic. So I'm like, hold on. I go, I'm 33 years old right now. Like, to have a heart transplant, I go, how long do they last? Like you always think, at least I did, any organ transplants could be 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years at max. Like, that would put me into the 55-year range, and then what?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Do
I get another one?
Yeah. Do I get another one? This and that? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just not. Like, I was so concerned. All right, so like I said before about the nerve graft, right, with the cadaver nerve, I didn't want a nerve of a dead guy in me. Now you're telling me I got to take a heart,
a whole nother heart,
a whole heart. And he's like, Mike, this is it. This is procedure. Like, this is what you need. Your heart's not healthy anymore. Your heart's not gonna like. Oh, okay. I'm not saying what you're saying is correct. I go, but can we just? I go, I feel so much better. I go, can we just hold off? Can we just not throw that LVAD in my chest today? Like, can we just? Maybe we'll see what the medicine does. And he's so frustrated. He's like, just whatever. So he's like, I'm going to think about this for a little bit. Let me think about this. We'll see, whatever, this, that, blah, blah, whatever. So fortunately, I was able to, because he tells me I'm number 1 on the heart transplant list, right? And I was kind of like thinking to myself, in our profession, we know like all it takes is one car accident right now.
Yeah.
That a donor's heart is available, and I'm going to the operating table, and I got a new heart. Like, let's pump the brakes. Let's see, So he leaves. He's all upset at me. My nurse comes in, and she's like, "What? What are you doing? You're stupid. Oh, look at me. I'm 33. I'm a firefighter, paramedic. I know everything. And it's like, no, look, okay, true, but also like let's just pump the brakes a little bit, right? Like, let's just not get crazy into like, let's throw a new heart in this guy, right?
Right.
So everybody, it kind of like it killed the mood for the day, right? In a good way, in my eyes, in a good way, but everybody was pissed at me now, right? No one wants to talk to me anymore, right? I'm getting a new nurse coming in every 15 minutes to check my vitals. I don't know who she was. Like, I don't even know if it was a nurse. I think they just sent like environmental into my room to go check that guy's vitals. We don't even care about this guy right now, Not that they didn't care. They cared. But so then of course I get on in my own head and in my own emotions and feels, and I start looking up, because I've heard stories like in the field, in the paramedic world and fire service world, you hear like crazy stories all the time, right?
This has been a Fire and Iron Media production. You have something to say, people want to listen. How's that, Daddy?